Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onami. Welcome back to Down and Dirty with Darci. Today we have a guest by the name of Darci Smith. It's myself. I'm doing a solo episode, highly requested, which I don't know why you guys like me, but highly requested. So we're going to reverse Uno it, and I'm going to shoot it over to Rami, and she's going to host today and ask me questions. We're going to talk career. We're going to talk about my trajectory, different things about how I got to where I am and stuff like that. So hopefully you like it.
Yeah, and we're going to get a lot of good career tips in there as well.
Yeah.
Brief introduction for those who don't know. I'm making this up on the fly, but Darci is a former dancer. She danced with Will Smith once.
Oh my God, I hate you.
Back in the day. And you know, she's done a lot of amazing things with her career over the years. Started a wine blog at one point.
I did.
Which then turned into this whole media empire doing career coaching after years in the recruiting industry. And now she's just a badass, career-oriented person who just got back from Scotland.
True.
And
when this comes out, it'll be a while.
Oh, it'll be a while. You're right.
Not just got back.
Yeah. But, you know, I've loved working with Darci the past almost year.
It has been almost a year.
Which is crazy. So crazy. I mean, we found Darci on Onami because of your TikTok, I think. And we just loved your advice. And now we're here. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
As you would say.
Yeah. That's my quote. Not really. I think everyone says that.
I know. Let's get in. Let's go. Ours is let's go. So, you know, let's start from the beginning. How did you get the idea to start the business as a career coach?
Yeah. So when I first got into recruiting, I kind of took it from a standpoint of always wanting to help people with negotiations, with their resumes and things like that. And luckily I came from a place where I was trained in hiring. So when I worked at a corporate company, I worked in hiring. So I was an office manager. I was hiring people, but all of the managers at Cintas, which was the company I worked at, had to be trained. It was called meticulous hiring. So we had to be trained on it. So we kind of learned what hiring teams are looking for. So that STAR method thing, the situation, task, action, result, we were really trained on that. So when I moved into recruiting, it was very natural for me to come at it from a standpoint of helping my candidates do better in their interviews to get the job. Most of the time, this should be happening for people. But a lot of times recruiters don't do that because they just look at it like, oh, I'm going to send this person off. Hopefully they get it, right? So it was really my job to career coach them. And then as I kept doing it, obviously I started gaining more and more knowledge from it. And I always knew I wanted to do something. I feel like people say this a lot, but I always knew I wanted to do something. To be honest, I always had, and I still think this might happen, but I've always had this vision of myself being on reality TV.
Dude, yes, that needs to happen.
Yeah. So I've been and will keep, I manifest all the time. Like when I go to bed, I dream about myself on a very specific television show. Big Brother is what it is. And I go through an entire season. Like each night I'll go through an episode in my head of this is me winning the season. This is how it's going to go. And so I always knew I was going to do something weirdly on camera, I guess. And so that's when I started the wine thing because I'm like, I like wine. It's fun. Like I'm drinking a lot of wine already because it was when I was doing the RV trip.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to a lot of wineries. So I started doing that and it just didn't feel like I was educating, I guess, because I didn't know much about wine.
Right.
I just drank it.
You're like, here, look at me drink wine.
It's dumb.
Right.
So then when I was like, well, I want to do something and make something. Let's try this social media thing. It was definitely blowing up at the time. I think it was end of 2021, maybe, kind of that world. And so yeah, I just was like, maybe I'll just talk about what I already talk about with my candidates. And that's how I started. And I literally started by doing resumes, which is wild, but doing resumes for $100. Like $100.
Like you were offering, hey, I'll redo your whole resume for $100.
$100, which if you go online right now, it's probably closer to $800.
Really?
Yeah. It's if not more. It is very
inflation,
intense.
baby.
Yeah.
But,
no, I mean not mine, but I'm saying other career coaches are charging that much.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, don't hire a resume writer unless they're actually going to talk to you. Because if you're not talking to them.
They're not going to get
they
whole
don't know
picture.
the whole story. Yeah. And a lot of them, this is going to sound bad, but a lot of them are old.
Yeah.
And they don't
going
know
with the old.
Yeah. They don't know the current practices because they don't currently work in it.
Yeah.
Like I still recruit. I still work in it. I'm still talking to hiring managers.
Yeah.
And up until the point that I'm not, I will still do resumes. But once I don't know anything anymore, I can't.
Can I share? Okay, one really quick thing about your specific resume tips. I recently helped a friend. I think we talked about this on a past episode. Redo her entire resume based on your tips and like everything that you've said. And she literally got 3 full job offers. Not even just interviews.
Oh my gosh.
She got 3 offers because she was not getting any like responses with her old resume. We tweaked a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
This makes me so happy.
And that's just with your free tips, but also pay for the real
no,
thing.
I'm totally okay with it. If you can sit there and look at my content for hours and that's what you want to do and get the most out of it, please do. I mean, it's the whole reason I do this. Yeah. If for the people who need to get the information quick and want it personalized, then obviously they're going to pay me. Yep. But if you can get it for free, I'm all about that. So literally that's how it all started. And my biggest thing is anything that you want to do, and I'm a firm believer in this, is hiring a mentor or a coach. And that is what I did. I just went full in and hired someone to help me.
How did you find them?
It was like serendipitous, but I was on a different person's Instagram page. Again, not necessarily manifesting, but I was thinking about how I wanted someone to help me grow this social media thing that I didn't really know much about. I knew a little bit just from the wine thing, right? But I was on someone else's Instagram page who was doing a giveaway, back when they used to do those giveaways with all the influencers.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, like who are the influencers she's doing a giveaway with? Maybe I'll like them too. I click over to one of them. Then I start scrolling her page. I see like in the back of an office picture, there's like a desk, and the desk was like really intricate, and I thought it was really cool looking. It had like resin through it and stuff, and I was like, cool. So then I start clicking more around trying to find this freaking desk, and then lo and behold, it's her husband's desk. So then I go to her husband's page. Her husband is a social media coach.
Oh my gosh. And so you're like, wait,
and I'm like, is this
that's
is weird.
Perfect.
So I contact him. I mean, after obviously looking through all of his stuff, I contact him, have a call with him. Everything felt great. I still was a little bit like, I don't know, because it was very expensive. It was $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, I was like, this is a bit much. So I called a psychic medium that I know, and I was like, hey, like, what kind of vibes are you getting from this man?
Yeah.
Like, do we trust him? Whatever. She's like, yes. Like, then she basically like gave me the stamp of approval. And so now it's so funny because Mike, the coach, he tells everyone this story. He's like, and even like psychics recommend me. They trust me.
Wait, so you worked with him for a while, and then that also helped you grow in social.
Yeah, so he's been doing it for a while. He was doing it before he created his own, and his wife's a really big social media person. Cool. I think she has like 300,000 or more. Awesome. I mean, probably more at this point.
Yeah.
So she, like, they help each other. But he started doing it back when he was doing it for companies. So he like would work for Disney and then be the person that found Disney influencers. Oh. So he was doing influencer marketing before it got huge from a company standpoint. Right. So that's what I loved about him too, is I'm pretty big on expertise and stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Because that kind of brings me to my next question, which is like, what advice would you have for someone who wants to get into social media? And I'm sure like the mentor thing is part of it, but what else would you say? Yeah,
my biggest thing is know your lane. So I work with a lot of people, not work, but like collaborate, I guess, with other creators that are like, oh, I would never share about my boyfriend, or I would never share about that. Totally get it. Know your lane, like know what you're comfortable with and know what kind of influencer or social media or creator you want to be. I've very much leaned into I want to be someone that educates. I also like really wants people to enjoy my content. Yeah. So I want there to be that fun aspect. And I just tend to be an open book. That's just who I am. I have no problem sharing my life.
Yeah. And you're great at that, by the way. Like I feel like all of your stories in Scotland were so fun. And it was like a nice change up from the education all the time. It's like nice to see behind the scenes, but there are different people who are just education or just, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's interesting to figure out the lane. But.
Yeah. And I know people who do like food recipes that they don't share anything about their lives. Like you barely know their name. Right. They just talk about food recipes. And
they're crushing it.
And I totally get that. And I feel like no shame in anyone's game. Whatever lane you want to choose, just know yourself. Because I think the problem that people see is they're like, oh, I don't want to share my life on social media.
I have that problem. I'm so private about my personal life, but
which is fine though.
I feel like Yeah, I feel like there's this thing going on with creators. This is like a whole other conversation, but just briefly, I feel like to have real influence, you need people to love you. And like they might love your tips and whatnot and come back. I mean, there's, you know, Tony Robbins and whatever. You don't know about his personal life necessarily.
Yeah.
But like they need to love you if they're going to like buy everything you do, right? And I feel like I have a great audience size. People are like, oh my God. And I'm like, but do I have real influence? Nobody knows or cares about me. But that's a whole other thing.
I will combat that with, do you care about that? And that's the lane thing.
Right.
Because if you care about them getting to know the ins and outs of you and trust you as a person that buys a handbag.
True.
Right? No one's buying like something I buy that's a handbag.
Because that's not what they know you for. Yeah,
that's
you're right.
lane.
That's true. It's like I'm not.
But I'm wholeheartedly going to trust the tips that you gave on a few episodes ago where you're saying, hey, like these are the companies that you should go to find remote work.
True. Because that's my lane. I'm educating about travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that if you want to start on social media, I don't think that it has to be open door, like your whole life, everything like that.
That sounds stressful too.
Yeah.
Like that's
there's
a lot.
still, I mean, there's some things I keep private.
Right.
And not because I want to. I really don't care. It's literally because
I want to know.
Yeah. I'm like, it's literally because my boyfriend, like I have to respect his privacy, right?
Right.
And my
other people in
privacy,
your life.
Yeah. In my life. But literally if it were up to me, I'd just be like, the big, like, whatever you want to know, you know?
Yeah.
That's just who I am as a person. Which is why I could go on reality TV because I'm
so excited for this to happen. It's going to happen. We're putting it into the universe.
No, I'm gonna be like 80 years old with my little cane, like
they're
on
like,
Big Brother.
Darci's on Big Brother now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would pay to watch that.
So that's my biggest piece of advice. And then if you truly want to take it seriously, hire somebody for the accountability piece and be consistent. Don't come at it with a half in, half out. You have to be fully in it. Even if it's a side hustle, but you still have to be fully in it. Be consistent. Don't worry about the numbers. That will crush you.
Head. Yeah.
It will get in your head. You cannot worry about the follower count or the view count or anything. You have to just do it because you want to do it.
And because you like it. I find there's so many people, like friends of mine who I'd been talking to for years, like, oh, we want to like be influencers or we want to be creators. And like, they were never doing anything. And so then now they're asking me like, wait, but how did you do it all of a sudden? I'm like, well, I just started being consistent one day and like, then it paid off, right? Yeah. But now I find myself being like,
I don't know if I want to do
work.
This. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. So that's what I would say, definitely.
I love it. Oh, well, okay. So my other question was kind of similar. Is like, do you think it's hard to share about your life and what types of things? Well, I guess not what types of things, but are there things you do want to keep private? And do you ever wish you could be more of like, I don't know, that type of influencer who does share everything?
Right. I look at people that do that and I totally get it, right? And they have families and they have all these things. And there's this weird culture, I will say, about the influencer life that it's like more. It's like more.
Yep.
And if you look at these people that are making a lot of money, they are pushing so many products and pushing so many things to get that money in.
Yeah.
And they're buying a lot themselves. I mean, I know people that starting out, they went out and bought a bunch of stuff to do hauls,
just to be doing hauls,
to do things like that, to like just get people to like
trust their recommendations. Yeah.
And I get it, right? Like it totally is a thing, but I'm very grateful, to be honest, that I have a lane that is career stuff. So when I want to turn off that spigot of like, this is me and this is the things I'm doing and the judgment from who I am as a person, that has to be really tough for those people. Like
I think about tanks
coming for their life.
Yeah. And it's like you have to continuously share more and more or people drop off because you're not sharing as much. And like they grew originally by talking about their dating life all the time or like, and then as they get bigger, they don't want to share as much. And it's like a whole cycle. It's bizarre. But
I mean, I posted recently when I was in Scotland, I was like, I don't know. I don't really want to be posting career content. It didn't feel right to me at the time. I wasn't fully immersed in the career stuff because I wasn't doing my coaching or I wasn't working on my course, like anything like that. So I'm like, what I'm doing right now is Scotland. And I felt like people were going to be, it sounds ridiculous, but like not upset, but just kind of like, that's not what they expect from me, right? They expect free content for career advice. And so I just have to be like, you know what? I'm going to do what I want.
I think you balanced it well though. I saw you still shared some things and like, I'm glad you got a real vacation. Even though I know you said you were up at night being like, I'm not doing enough, which is just like part of it.
Like a whole, I like to be open with people. I like to be, I guess, vulnerable for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But I just want people to know, like, I struggle with so many things too. And I feel like we see this facade of people online that's like, oh, they must be just making all this money and so happy and they're traveling and this and that. And like, I literally was so much anxiety, which is, again, ridiculous. And I feel weird even saying it because there's so many things I have to be grateful for.
Of course,
But I still struggle with perfectionism and trying to,
there's always
be good
more
at something
to
or
do. There's always feeling like I should be doing this, I could be doing that. And
I feel like I'm trying to figure it out, and it's like I just want to share the moments that I'm like what I'm going through, because there hopefully will be a time where I do not make it, but it's like I'm out of this, like this is only year 2 or 3 of me having my own business.
Which is nothing. Like,
and I'm like,
most businesses aren't profitable at all at that point.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, so I want to share like going through that and what it's really been like for me, because I'm trying to balance this podcast. I own a recruiting firm that I'm working on all the time.
Yeah, I feel like most people don't even know that.
Yeah. And I was answering the phone at 2 a.m. in Scotland because I'm working
different time
people
zones.
Were interviewing and I was trying to help them through that. And then I'm like in the customs line for an hour, like with a hiring manager trying to negotiate an offer. And I'm just like, I literally got home and cried for an hour. Like I just cried.
So
I was like
exhausted.
What am I doing to myself?
You're a hustler too. You do everything
and then
you possibly can.
The thing is I preach this, like work-life balance and this and that. And so I just want to be as honest as I can. Like I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
And I want people to have work-life balance because I know what it's like to not. And I'm really working on it. And yeah, I just think it's really important that I'm also super upfront about where I'm at with my life. And when I'm giving advice, I never want it to come from a place of I'm better or I know more.
I know everything. It's like, no, we're all we're all struggling through this together.
So let me help if I can.
No, you're very good at that. That's why we love you.
Thank you.
That's why Anami loves Darci, and you can go watch our free course with her. Okay, so you want to get into some career questions?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
let's get into it.
We're here with a career expert. So here are some that we got sent in the DMs. So we'll just start. This person said, I had a final interview and they told me there were 2 people left. They ended up going with the other person. A week later, I get a call and they tell me they actually want me. Ooh. What should I do? Ooh.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, don't feel like second choice. Know the story. Understand what happened. My first thing would be to ask them, hey, like, I'm so excited that you decided to call me, because, they could have just went back to the drawing board and tried to hire someone else.
Right.
So my first thing is make sure you get to know the story of what happened. There's probably a really good reason. And don't feel like second best. Understand why they want you now. And that's the most important thing. And if they're giving you the offer that you wanted and that all makes sense, then I say be happy and like go for it.
Yeah.
Totally
it's not like
sense.
dating. It's not like it's not like you're the second, like, second girl that they wanted or whatever. So
right. No, I definitely think it's very important to just understand why it happened. But this is what I really want to say is leverage the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Because at this point you have leverage, there's no one else but you. They want you. So I would definitely also recommend definitely negotiating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart. Okay, this person says, I got asked to provide 3 weaknesses in my last interview and I completely froze. What would you suggest is a good way to answer that?
3 weaknesses?
I hate that question.
That is so many. So I already
3. Oh my God.
I already hate the question, tell me your biggest weakness.
Right.
And I coach people on this a lot because there is a way to reframe it. And so what I'll say is change it from my greatest weakness or my biggest weakness and change the words to something I've noticed about myself. Or this is how I've self-reflected over the past couple years of my career.
I like that.
So literally when they say, what's your biggest weakness? Your response is, what I've noticed over the past whatever in my career is, don't say the
You're
word
not
weakness.
framing it as, and then they're not going to like frame it as that.
So to do 3 is very hard. And I would just say, like, I don't like to focus on my weaknesses. It's very important to me that I'm adding the most value to a company, and where that comes from is my strengths. But I do want to be respectful and answer the question. So to give you 3 weaknesses, here are things that I'm working on, which would be a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So here are things I'm working on. I've noticed in the past that I have a hard time delegating tasks. Here's what I'm doing to work on that. Okay, check that box. Next, I've also noticed that when I'm in a large crowd, I do need a lot more time to prepare. So here's what I've done. Instead of being nervous or working through those nerves of presenting in front of a crowd, I know that about myself now. So what I do is I take extra time, I make extra note cards, talk them through that, right? And then the third one, maybe you say something like, oh gosh, it's so hard to come up with 3.
I know.
Maybe you say something like, I've always been someone that's been a perfectionist, and it's something that's a constant in my life. And I know the perfectionist weakness is a tough one, but when you're asked to give 3, you kind of have to just go with
that one.
But the main goal is that you're explaining why it's a weakness to you
and what you're working on.
Yeah. So that's how I would go about it. It's the explanation, not just saying the 3 weaknesses and kind of just being like, okay, so there's 3 weaknesses you can use.
Yeah,
everybody.
I was actually going to say those all apply to me. So I'm going to be using those when I ever have to. Just kidding on me. I'm staying forever.
Never leaving.
So, okay, that's 3 weaknesses. Wow.
That's hard.
Why do they want to know? Okay. Next one. If you went to the school of business within your school, should you include that on your resume? Does it always help or depend on the job listing?
I love this question. Okay. Some schools, if people don't know, the School of Business is a very well-known name when you go to specific business schools, right? So 100% put that on your resume because someone else might have gone there. It looks more prestigious. It doesn't take up too much space. Right. So 100% put it on there every time. It doesn't matter what job. I'll also say I've worked with some people that they do have a college degree, and usually if you have a college degree, you don't want to put your high school degree, right? But the high school they went to was super prestigious and very well known in their state or in their city. So also anything that's going to help you maybe make a connection, right? I would 100% put that as well.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't even think of that because I technically went to the business school. I mean, it doesn't matter for me now, but
Yeah, I would put it. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Haven't heard anything a week after second interview. Is it rude to follow up with the talent acquisition directly to find out next steps or reiterate my interest in the role?
Never rude. It's never rude to follow up. Get that out of your mind. Anyone that's thinking that right now, never rude. The way that you go about it, you don't just write and say, hey, what's next, or what are the next steps? Hey, I haven't heard from you in a bit. What are the next steps? You want to present some type of value when you reach out. Right. So, hey, I saw this article and was thinking of you guys. I'm really excited about this opportunity. Do you know what the timeline looks like? Or, hey, I was revisiting my job tracker, and it's like say what you're doing to kind of make yourself look better almost.
I like that.
So if you're revisiting your job tracker and you're kind of towards the end of another process, but this particular job was really important to you, so you wanted to be upfront with them on where you're at, something like that, right? Okay. But yes, I 100% always recommend reaching out. I've had hiring managers that specifically don't get back to people because they want to test their follow-up skills.
Really?
How crazy is that? Yeah.
I've always wondered about that too. If sometimes it is a little bit of a game, like
it's a little bit of a
because
game.
I'm the type of person that's like, I don't want to be a burden. Like I don't want to annoy anyone.
You're most people.
Like, should I even send a thank you email? You know, and I always do because I feel like it's better than not. So something like this, I would be like, should I even say anything? They clearly don't want me.
Right. And people are not perfect. They're not constantly thinking about everything. Right. So
they might be like, oh, I forgot.
It actually really does help. It happened to me recently in my recruiting firm. I had been working with a candidate who didn't get another job. And then a company opened up a job and I wasn't really thinking of him because it's kind of a little bit different.
Right.
And he followed up with me. He's like, hey, I saw that company that I got, didn't get this other job, has a new job. What do you think? Do you think we could maybe get me in there? And I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do it.
So that's a good point. You got to think like, how many times have you gotten an email or a text that you're like, oh shoot, like, I forgot to, so people, hiring managers are people too. All right. This last one I have is, I received another job offer with a bunch of red flags. Should I let another company I'm interviewing with know of said job offer in hopes they'll expedite their 5-round interview process?
Yes, this is my favorite thing. Okay, this is a 2-parter. If you have a job offer with red flags, always identify them. Before you say no to the job offer, make sure you have a conversation with someone that, whoever the contact is, and ask them about them because they could be fixed.
Right.
But if it's a lot of red flags, then maybe that's an indicator.
I want to know what the red flags are.
I know. Maybe that's an indicator of the company as a whole. But this is the best thing. If you have an offer, this is leverage. Use that to your advantage. Just be very honest and upfront. Don't make it pushy. I have had hiring teams that don't like that. They'll say, okay, that was a bit much. Go ahead, go do your thing, take the other offer, right? But it doesn't hurt to tell them. It's the way that you say it. So I just want to be very upfront and transparent. And even say, I understand if you can't expedite the process.
Totally fine.
I just want to let you know where I'm at. I still want to go through with the process of this company because it's one of my top choices, but I did just receive an offer and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to get back to them pretty quickly.
Yep.
So I just wanted to check, could we like expedite this process a little bit? Is there any way I could get into these interviews sooner? That is the perfect way to do it, because then they're like, oh, they're just being kind, asking for something.
And the transparency aspect, actually, the friend I told you about earlier who got the 3 job offers, this literal situation happened to her and she did exactly what you just said. And they did expedite the process because they were like, wait, actually, we really like you. She skipped an entire round and got that offer.
Oh my gosh.
But she was like very transparent and was so nervous about it. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, funny story. I heard about, this is kind of wild, but I heard about a guy that was using his wife's company. Like, she has an LLC, so she would write up an offer letter so he could present it as leverage.
Stop and be like, well, this is my other letter. Like,
that is
they're
wild.
offering me $150K, so
I know. And I'm like, if anyone really dug into that though,
because
they'd be able to see
so bad.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have the same last name. I don't know, but I was like,
true, but if I was looking into that, I would find proof because I'm an FBI agent on Google. So,
well, I'm gonna be honest. When I worked at my previous company, I hired interns that were in college, and so they worked for me personally.
Yeah,
and I would let them write whatever they wanted on their resume. I was like, I will back you up. Whatever you want to be. I do that with
everyone that works under me too. Yeah, I'm like, just change
write
it.
what you want. Yeah. I'm like, you were a what? You worked on my website.
I'm the same way. I love it. It all comes around. Like, you know,
I want to help.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
But then I'm like, just make sure you actually know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I make them I kind of.
Yeah, at least take a free online Pinterest marketing course like I did. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
Is that the end of our
yeah, that's the end of the sent
the
questions.
Perfect.
And
I think that might be the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my solo episode. Hopefully you guys liked it.
Fun. Oh my gosh.
It's weird being on this side. Yeah, you're a great interviewer. I like the preparation.
Yeah, the preparation was really difficult. I did not have any help from Darci at all. No.
You didn't get sent those questions?
No.
No. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for listening, watching, whatever you're doing. We say this every week, but we mean it, and we would really appreciate it if you give us 5 stars and leaving a review. Look how nervous I get. Leaving a review really helps us, so please. And thanks so much, and we will see you next week.
And tell us what jobs you're interested in.
Oh yeah, right. If you leave a comment, be like, "I want to hear about zookeepers."
Yeah, and we'll make it happen.
We can find them. Yeah. We're gonna find them. It is hard though to find people and get them in person.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm like, I need more interesting jobs and stuff. So let us know what you want to hear from, who you want to hear from, and that's it. Bye.
Thanks for listening to that Onomy podcast. Onomy is a creator-led educational platform that teaches you the things you wished you learned in school so you can thrive in adulthood. Onomy lessons are completely free and they're taught by some of your favorite creators from around the internet. Head to onomy.co to start learning about things like budgeting, investing, taxes, how to thrive in your relationships, how to find your dream job, and so much more. That's onomy.co, onomy.co. See you there.